Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining us again and joining me and my friends and colleagues, Sara, Bill, and Blair. Great to have you back. We got some great topics for today. And I believe, Blair, you're leading us off with Craftwork Makes a Comeback.
Yeah, let's get rolling. So this is research done and documented in the Academy of Management Annals article. And this is just recently, I've done a couple of workshops where we have health club owners, operators together, and we have them start to think about, what is digital transformation? And one of the questions I pose is, what can't be digitized? What should be digitized? And if you were going to place your biggest bets, where would you focus on digitization? So Craftwork Makes a Comeback is talking about this explosion in the interest of, for example, craft beers, craft distilleries. But also they talk about the interest in it was made by Joe around the corner, the hyper-localization that we've talked about in the past. And then that companies need to focus on where, and I'm going to sort of conflate digitization that I'm talking about within our industry with the term they use of industrialization, or the use of technology to get certain things done. And they're saying that craft work is when human workers have to add an aesthetic to either the product or the experience, or many times the experience is the product. And we've said that about the fitness business for a long time. The experience is the product. So companies are sort of setting up these, a hybrid of what gets industrialized and what human workers should have their hands on. And to me, right now, for the fitness industry, that is like one of the key things that club operators, owners, large companies, and small need to focus on. With the huge advancement of AI, you can do more and more sort of industrialized work using AI. But at some point, that AI and that technology should be there to enhance, I believe, the human-to-human interaction. So that's what they're saying, is that Craftwork is making a huge comeback. And I'd pose to you guys what the opportunities are in our industry for that.
I think about that a lot because, like at SCW, we do a lot of these videos. I love our videos. And I think it personalizes the experience. And we've used these like tour videos to get people to be able to navigate through our website. And I think club owners can continue to use the videos to personalize the experience, but still place it up on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram to make people feel like they're more connected to the facility. So I like that we're able to take the technology and then personalize it.
Yeah, but I take it even further, Sara. Blair, your point, our people are performing a craft, right? What we found during the pandemic was I missed my group fitness instructor. I missed my trainer. I miss the people at the club, and that personalization of our human element is fits right in there, So I'm right there with both of you.
And I think it both. When it says Craftwork makes a comeback, to me that says customer experience. Like people are kind of craving that human to human, interaction part of it. And then I think the pandemic forced some other things to make life super easy. More and more people had to do so many things online, and technology companies made certain things super easy where you shouldn't be getting in the customer's way. It's interesting that most of our kids don't watch TV anymore. They haven't watched TV in years, right? They stream stuff, and they subscribe to things and they unsubscribe to things. Had a great experience in LA last week, visiting John Reed Fitness and getting a great tour there, and to see they have sort of industrialized the sign-up process or digitize the sign-up process completely. And it's just subscribe, unsubscribe. That's how you get a membership there. And that frees their people up to do the craft work of connecting with people. And by the way, teaching trainers how to clean. And so I love this notion. I think it bodes well for the industry. Brent, what do you think?
Yeah, the other thing it made me think of, and Bill, you and Blair will remember, that we went to the robot factory, remember, in Wisconsin several years ago as a roundtable.
Yeah.
And Bill of Sports hired, or not hired, they've purchased a robot to fold the towels back in their laundry room with a robot, if you will. And that's been going great. And as the CEO of that company shared with us, the great thing about, these robots that can do some of these manual task, they don't get sick, they don't take days off, they don't have vacation, they don't have benefits, they work 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. There's a lot of advantages to that.
And they don't have repetitive movement injuries.
I just say that, no repetitive movement injuries. Yeah.
That's right too. So, I mean, there is a place, but to all of your point, I couldn't agree more, right? The human perspective is a huge part of what our industry is all about.
But they also,
Guys, go ahead, Sarah.
those people folding, if you want a human being folding a towel, you want them smiling, and you want the club, the members to see that connection with that person. And you can't tell me the machinery doesn't break down. Okay, maybe it doesn't have a lawsuit that follows it, but it does break down and it does have issues.
Yeah, but a lot of us are folding towels in the back house, not at the front desk.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to your wife and make sure that's happening.
Hey, one last thing, talking to Bill Davis at ABC yesterday, one of our great sponsors, and they've seen such an uptick on online enrollments. It's insane.
Yeah.
And so that fits right along with it, but I know we're moving on.
Over to you, Bill.
Over to me. I want to talk about pricing and discounts here for a minute. It's a subject near and dear to my heart, but it's kind of interesting. We're seeing all kinds of stuff going on. Like I was looking at Lululemon yesterday. And, typically Lululemon will be moving about 40 SKUs on discount at any given time. And right now they've been running maybe 25. They've reduced their discounting tremendously. We're seeing a 17% increase in hotels and flights. We're seeing the highest recent gain in consumer price index since I want to say maybe 2008. And so pricing is going up, and should we discount or not? And the more research I'm doing and the more diving in I'm doing on this, we don't have goods that need to be moved based on seasonality. We're more like airlines and hotel rooms. Every day that somebody's not a member is a lost revenue stream. It's perishable. And so I've always come down on, try to avoid discounting whenever possible. And so I say, no, we shouldn't discount, but there might be discounts on trial memberships to introduce people that wouldn't be involved in our product line. And if you do that, I recommend a 65 to 75% of your normal rate. So the barrier to convert back to normal membership isn't that great. But I'm strongly against discounting right now. It devalues our product, and I think it sets us up for that failure in the future. And there's a lot of things that go into that. But I'd like to hear my opinions, the opinions of my esteemed colleagues here, because I know there are going to be some opinions here.
Well, it's certainly operators having to get back to pre-pandemic levels of number of members paying recurring revenue. Might make that a bit, might make the urgency to discount a little higher depending on your operation. But it seems to me that a lot of clubs we've lost a lot of clubs. Demand generation. I mean, there is a lot of demand out in the marketplace. There might be capacity issues. And I think the opportunity to keep prices up, we're seeing that here in Wenatchee in our own market here. We saw that in LA last week in talking to the folks at John Reed. Pretty straightforward. It's $100 a month. There's no discounting. There ain't no deals, right? It's $100 a month. Right. And that I think the idea of just completely simplifying our memberships, I think is a really good idea, making them super simple, super easy to understand, subscribe to, super easy to sell. I think that's a fabulous idea. I just wonder if discounting isn't going to get you overcrowded soon. I don't know, but we've had record low cancellations the last 2 months. Record.
Yeah,
low.
I mean, to your point, Blair, rather than discount, have a no frills membership. Just have a lower tier and have tiers. And I'm a big believer in 3-tiered memberships. Sara, you're chomping at the bit.
Yeah, I am. Of course, somebody's got to disagree with you too.
Of
It's
course,
like
I expected you to.
you hold hands and walk through this talk show. Anyway, with memberships, the one thing I want to look at is, are these people re-signing up? Are we looking at really, are we engaging new people? And we've got to get some new people in the facility. We've got to get more people in, because live participants, if they're going to make an impulse buy, they're 25% likely to make an impulse buy if they're live in the facility. And on a virtual platform, there are only 16% possibilities of making an impulse buy. So we want more people coming in, because then we can upsell them. So I hate to say this, but Bill, I do think I kind of agree with you that maybe we have a lower tier.
Whoa.
Maybe we do have a lower tier to just get people in so you can impulse them buy up.
Yeah, I'm the more I'm thinking about the seniors and the deconditioned and some of the populations that some facilities have struggled attracting, the more I'm believing in 1 month, 2 month, even 3 month trial memberships. And if you have a great onboarding and service mechanism and a great infrastructure, 2 and 3 months may work. If you're relying on members to get in there and self-initiate, you might want to stick to 1 month. But I believe in a trial offer to get more people trying our product and on board. Brent, what do you think?
Well, I like one of the points that Blair made about John Reed charging, $100. And what he didn't say is it's $100 for you. It's $100 for your spouse. It's $100 for the next person that you might want to join. Equinox has run that playbook for years pretty successfully. And I think our industry has gotten too much into discounting for family, couples, add-ons.
If you have a job.
Right.
Yeah, there's just all sorts of ways to get discounts. And then also I like the fact that there are many clubs out there that are raising their rates, raising their prices. So they're going the opposite way of discounting and making it more seamless. So the negotiation is not there. I'm a big fan of all that.
Well, basic economics, if you buy into all the data, right, there's less clubs now than there were pre-pandemic, and supply and demand. So
and also maybe the social impact of exercise as medicine is actually having an effect.
All right, Brent.
What do you mean if you buy into the data?
Of course. It's data.
It's data. Much of it that's our research telling you how many clubs are closed at IHRSA, Bill. So just say IHRSA's research unequivocally says.
IHRSA's 100% accurate factual research says that supply is diminished and demand is increasing, and let's raise our rates or hold our own. Brent, you're up.
I appreciate that. Okay, well, here's a really hot topic with all the club operators I've been speaking with over the last several months. And that is what's going on around minimum wage and the challenge that they're having in finding employees, particularly frontline customer-facing workers. So, the big companies like Chipotle, McDonald's, Taco Bell, et cetera, they've all been raising the rates to this minimum of $15 an hour. And oh, by the way, that's not just in states like, and places like Seattle and Oregon and California, where they're already moving toward this $15 an hour. But these companies are taking it to states, say like Texas, where I am, where the minimum wage actually still is $7.25 per hour. And yet these companies are paying $15 an hour. So there's a lot of pressure on clubs to find employees. In addition to that, as you see here, McDonald's is now offering in some locations $50 cash for people just to show up for the interview, whether they get the job or not. And some McDonald's are posting signage saying, hey, if you come and we hire you and you stay on here for 6 months, then we'll give you a free iPhone. So there's some lessons to be learned here. Some of the things that clubs are doing around the US to try and get more people to apply and be interested in joining their organization are, one, they're incentivizing staff referrals, not a new concept, but they're doing it at a higher level, right? Paying current employees to help them source new employees. Number two, they're also offering signing bonuses, many of them from $100, say, for an entry-level position up to $500 for people that stay for about 90 days. And then third, they're establishing formal relationships with local colleges. So many of us, may have had internship programs or loose affiliations with universities in our towns, but now really making sure that you're reaching out and have some sort of a process with those local colleges is paying dividends for some of those clubs. Then here's the second point before I turn it over to all of you. And it's something the economists are referring to as the Great Resignation. And they're actually suggesting that as many as 1/4 of employees may decide to leave their current positions over the next 6 months. I mean, 1/4 of employees. Some of their surveys said that number went as high as 40%. So as people are coming out of the pandemic and having had to work remotely, having to kind of shift their work-life balance with kids and family members, they've decided their current work status is not where they want to be into the future. And there's going to be a lot of turnover. So harder to find people and harder to keep people.
And we're seeing that right now, just in, and I think certainly the areas that were closed the longest are being impacted more, right? In 9 months of closures, people find other things to do.
Right.
And people in fitness that are really passionate about it are going to start, whether they were training people virtually or in their homes, they find other things to do. Also, some research done at 45 of the largest companies in the US, 64% would pick permanent work from home over a $30,000 raise. And what they said was people hate commuting. So there might be more of that in areas that have nasty commutes, as opposed to areas that are more rural, and more rural areas might be benefiting from people, moving into those areas. So that shift could really benefit, your area, because you might have people that are really passionate about the work you do, like we have in fitness, that might be leaving whatever financial sector or something, may end up with, people that really love what they do back in our industry.
And we've had, I said this months ago that we were going to have a Group X shortage, and we're going to have a personal training shortage, and we have it. And I can't believe this. I got offered $65 an hour to teach a 45-minute yoga class. And typically I make like $40, and I was talking to a friend of mine in Nebraska, she was making 18. And people have just had to raise the rates to pull these people not only offline, but to make them live. The shortage has it's been devastating to some clubs.
Sara, you need to find a better place to teach. I don't think I think Bill, Blair, or myself come to any of our clubs, we'd pay you a heck of a lot more than what you're making, girl.
It's okay. I'm looking at Chipotle, so you both don't have to worry.
I've got 2 points. Blair, I wonder how many people would have chosen work 3 days at home and 2 days in the office.
Yeah, right.
With that study, because I think a lot of people are missing the social interaction of being there. But and then the second point is, I shared with you guys, I'm working on an article that I'm calling Sandcastles. I've lost 2 GMs, and I think I've told you guys I don't usually lose GMs. We have a pretty decent culture, but I think some of it's the psychology of, I spent 3 years building this business up, and we're clicking and we're doing great, and all of it just got washed away. Mm-hmm. And now I'm back to zero. And now you want me to spend another 2 years doing the same thing I've been doing and rebuild it back up after I just did it? I think I'm going to try something else. Even though we have a new playbook. Anyway, I think that some of there's a morale issue with, hey, let's have to redo this whole thing again, kind of thought process.
Yep. Okay, Sara, fitness is not a lifestyle. That sounds like something nobody's going to agree with.
I know. I realized that that's not popular. Fitness is not a lifestyle, but that's something that I've always felt is fitness is not a lifestyle. It shouldn't be. It should fit into your life. It should be something that's comfortable. And I think when people look at this huge leap they're going to have to take to commit, it's not the financial commitment, it's this time commitment that they have to be able to reach into. And I know I mentioned earlier, you know, exercise is medicine. I think people are seeking it, but they have to feel comfortable. And one of the things I've noticed is like Lululemon was very noticeable for all these sleek and gorgeous models, as was, you know, even Anthropologie and everybody. It seems like now we're seeing a lot of different shapes, a lot of different colors. And I want to make sure that this continues post-pandemic. We've been in kind of like this bubble right now where, you know, ecology is important and social dynamics is important. Diversity is head. I walk through my neighborhood, Black Lives Matter signs are flooding all over the place. We have to make sure this continues because we have to think not about how we perceive fitness. We have to think about how they perceive fitness. They're terrified of a six-pack abs. They don't feel like they belong. If I see one more person pushing HIIT workouts, the high intensity interval training, I know all the science behind it. If one more person says it's in the science, I'll slap them. It's terrifying. Every time I do a HIIT workout, I feel like I'm gonna die like 15 minutes after the workout. It's exhausting. So we're on this panel included, and I'm gonna say, and also all the participants in this talk show, we're freaks. We love fitness. We wake up in the morning and I think, okay, when am I gonna go on my walk? When am I gonna play pickleball? No comments, please, from the peanut gallery. When am I gonna get to do, you know, my body pump workout? I think about that every morning. We're all freaks. The world hates the term workout. They don't want to sweat, and they dislike the people in those ads and feel uncomfortable. So,
Well,
what do you guys think?
So I'm going to agree with you, Sarah, that fitness is a lifestyle for people that are in the fitness business. But if we want to start to expand that marketplace, we talk about the 20% and the 80% on our headlight team at IHRSA. We've been talking less about the 80%, more about the next 5 to 7%. How do we pull that in and get people more active? And the research by Clearview, they were very clear, right? People think everything you do is way too hard, and you have to figure out a way. There have to be some ways to incrementally pull people into activity, and it is a big leap to say, fitness should be your lifestyle. It has to be a little bit at a time. Bryce Hastings has been from Les Mills, there's a lot of research for Les Mills, great guy, and he and I have had multiple conversations, and I asked him for a little bit of data that he had mentioned on a call the other day. The US is the country that had the highest negative correlation between exercise attendance and weight loss as the key motivator out of the 22 we had. So weight loss is the highest.
Explain that, Blair, you lost me.
Okay, so the US has the highest negative correlation between exercise attendance and weight loss as a motivator. And I love a lot of the stuff Bryce Hastings has done. He's been a great resource for me. And so I do think that we have to start talking about, this has to be more of a fit into your schedule type thing, and then people can eventually make it a lifestyle.
Yeah, Sarah, you were very complimentary about the panel that I was on a week or so ago with the WHO and the message points about, being inclusive and also changing how we're messaging out information, even the word fitness, really. Some public health practitioners that are focused on, really improving physical activity and wellness broadly say fitness is not a good term. It doesn't resonate well with the masses because it's too high of a bar. I mean, when they hear fitness to them, that seems like a really high bar to set rather than movement or be active, or things like that. So I think you're right on with some of your thoughts and comments. I know for Christmas, I sent Bill and Blair these metal signs that were engraved, and I quoted some of Michelle Seeger's work, which is exercise should be viewed as a gift, not as a chore.
Yep.
And
Yep.
to reach that mindset, you've got to do something that you enjoy doing.
And Dr. Michelle Seeger, she's from University of Michigan, where one of my sons went. And I look at that and I love activities of daily living. Like, what are we working towards? You know, to be able to get up off the couch for older adults, to be able to, you know, run across a backyard, because this pandemic has just closed down our kids. And I wonder what's going to happen with it.
So that's a perfect segue into this next topic, right? Because what, 64% of adults said they've had something negative happen with their weight. Not all of that is weight gain, but something negative happened with their weight. So under the topic of boring but important, two things, boring but important. One, did you guys know that the airlines all are in the process of recategorizing the weight of every single passenger?
I did.
They're go up by 7 pounds per person. It'll be the first time in a decade they've had to adjust so that they can figure out what maximum load is on an aircraft. And by the way, also 1 pound or 2 pounds per piece of luggage. I don't know what that's about, but 2 pounds per piece of luggage. So
Bigger clothes, Blair.
that's it.
Electronics.
So FDA just gave full approval to semaglutide, which is also out there on the market as Ozempic, which is a diabetes medication, full approval for weight loss to be, but for people with obesity, and now coming out of the pandemic, we know the impact of obesity on hospitalizations and, you know, severe consequences of the pandemic. So this is an injectable, once a week injectable, done over the course of a year. And as University of Alabama said, the results in the studies were jaw-dropping as to how effective it was. 15% of body weight loss using it. One of the things they're saying consistently, and so I'm asking you guys, good or bad for the industry, right? Good or bad? And I'll seed that and turn it over to you guys with this. They're also saying, but this should not be prescribed without lifestyle and behavioral changes.
Well, you know, Blair, all of us in the industry, all of us on this call, and most people listening on the call know, we've heard over the years, some people say, oh, I'm just going to wait for a pill that's going to do all this for me because it's coming. Maybe here it is.
So what do you say? But here, go ahead, Sara.
It drives me crazy. You know, that drove me crazy. So Blair sends out this text message to the you know, the three of us. He heard about this, and of course I jumped down his throat, probably throwing a pill, you know, to advance the plunge. But my mother passed away at 340 pounds, and she tried every pill on the market. The only time she lost like about 100 pounds was when she just started walking with the dog every day. Just take the dog for a walk. And I think about this pill, and I think about my mom. My mom died probably 15 years before she should have. And I look at this and I think it's horrible. And I think it's gonna deter people from really looking at long-term health. Obviously, we all hate this quick fix, but there you go. And I do apologize for jumping down your throat on the text.
So I think you're, go ahead. I think you're wrong. I think it's going to be excellent for the industry. And if everybody that was prescribed this and needs diet and exercise, that there's an incredible opportunity for our industry to partner in these. And it is a slow roll with this. And imagine if some of the people that are dying of obesity, that are dying of the maladies of obesity, had a little bit of a jump start to help them. And tell me that you guys don't know people. I brought this up in LA last week, and Willie Banos talked about a friend of his that's been overweight forever, got some surgery, lost 75 pounds, and then he started working out.
Yeah.
I
think I'll split the baby. I think you both are right. You know, meal replacements are not ideal for long-term healthy nutrition and eating, but meal replacements give people that jump start. And if you're so heavy that you have joint issues and can't be active, anything that gets you to a level of activity that you can perform. And I would say that if you're going to do that, you need exercise, nutrition, and coaching and counseling, to support the mindset around it all, because not one of the legs on the stool is enough.
Well, we have examples already of not related to obesity, but there's a lot of individuals that have been on medication for high blood pressure, and then they became active. They began to watch their nutrition, and then they were able to get off the medication. We have people that have been taking medication for high cholesterol. Same thing, right? Diabetes, same thing. So I agree with you, Blair. There's probably a place for it, but I probably lean more towards Sarah's side a little bit too, of like, I'm just not one to take pills for anything,
Because because we've done such a great job of getting that part of the population into our clubs. This
Fair
is literally
point.
what we talked about.
Exactly. We can't get them into the clubs.
So as much as we want to have the sort of idealistic approach to this, it has never worked for us. That part of the population keeps getting bigger and bigger, both in size and in volume. And this is the opportunity to get that part of the population active. Because so far, you haven't done it. You haven't done it.
But the thing is, Blair, people are going to take things to the extreme. They're going to start taking it so I can lose 4 pounds to get into a prom dress.
No,
and you're going to see, and yes, it's going to be a prescription drug. Well, there's going to be an
No, they won't.
But that's abuse. That's drug abuse, right? That's abusing. That's abusing. When you talk about obesity, once you lose your legs, once you lose mobility, you're on a downward spiral towards mortality, towards death. And so there's a population that needs to lose weight to get to a point of mobility and activity. And but I agree, it should not be the panacea.
And we need to find a way to control it. And so far, we really haven't been able to control the distribution of, frankly, look at the hydrocodone. It's like the extreme is going to happen. So I worry about it. And I think we can't, exercise.
Sarah, you're eating into your own time, Sarah.
I'm eating into my own time. Go ahead, guys.
So let's show a video of some really fit people now.
Yeah.
Concerns about COVID have some people calling for the cancellation of the Tokyo Olympics.
And if Tokyo cancels the games, the country stands to lose an estimated $16.5 billion. So organizers are loath to stop the games, but citizens see a public health danger if the event moves forward, especially because most of the country remains unvaccinated.
Well, the first thing is, I know that my fellow talk members here are going to attack about that 20% increase in membership, but I was sent a wonderful article by IHRSA's Caitlin, who sent me an article on Chicago has seen an influx of exercise activity and involvement post-Olympics, especially after the swimming, especially after skating. They've seen actually a surge of 30% up in like Lakeshore Athletic Club with their swimming memberships and some of the kids things that are going on. I got motivated by the Olympics because I think it increases international trade. It helps with global relationships. And I think it inspires people to exercise. And I think as a fitness professional, I've gone to like I went to Sochi and Canada. My son went to Brazil. I love the Olympics. I think it's amazing. Also, what we've seen is what's going on in Japan. Japan closed their borders rather than invested in a vaccine and really would help the pandemic. Right now, they've only got 2.5% of the Japanese public are actually fully vaccinated. And this is terrifying for these 11,000 athletes that are coming and double the spectators. And it's kind of crazy here to see that these Olympic the games may be canceled. 80% of the Japanese public want to cancel the games altogether. So I'm personally very committed to having the Olympics. It also has motivated me to kind of almost come out politically and saying, I think we should get vaccinated. So as a health club owner, we need to look at this. Do we want to support vaccination? Do we want to support the Olympics and activities? And we also need to look at 24-hour fitness that actually sponsored the Olympics in 2018 because they saw that this was so advantageous to memberships. So there.
Well, I do think, I don't know if it's 20%, but I would say, like you, Sarah, over the years, the Olympics always brought out sort of the sense of pride in your country and, nationalism. And then we did see, right, when it was Mary Lou Retton and Simone on the gymnastics floor, the spike in registration for gymnastics went way up. When it was Michael Phelps and the swimmers, swimming went way up. Maybe not so much with adults, but kids. And one thing I've said over the years about racquetball, y'all remember such a thing as racquetball. Well, one of the reasons racquetball, in my opinion, has not continued to survive is nobody ever sees it. The kids never see it. There's no aspirational person playing racquetball that, oh, I want to be the next. Nobody can even name somebody that plays racquetball, but they can name golfers, tennis players, swimmers, gymnasts. So I think there's really something there.
Yeah, I dug into this a bit, found some research out of the UK after the London Olympics, and they showed increases in interest in all kinds of different sports that were seen on TV and primarily by youth. And then I pulled out some research from Canada Research Chair on Population Physical Activity in Canada. This was done in 2016. And they said, like, how effective is the Olympics at raising the overall physical activity of a population? Their answer was not very effective. It is effective in getting more and more people interested in fitness, but what I found most interesting is the use of this language here. The Lancet published an intriguing set of articles depicting the progress in challenges of curbing this global pandemic. And what they're talking about is a lack of physical activity as the global pandemic, 2016 out of Canada. So they say, excellent for getting people more and more interested in sport, but they're not sure if those are people that are already sort of interested in sport anyway.
Yeah.
Bill?
Bill?
I think it creates awareness on activity and sport. And I think that helps, the industry and sport in general. And, I'm pro Olympics.
Well, that's not what we were suggesting, but go ahead.
Well, I think the issue is Japan's vaccination rate. I mean, if you have such a low vaccination rate, I can understand why the population might be against it.
Yeah. Well,
You're on.
good segue, Bill. Abbreviated Fitness. What's that about?
Oh, is that me?
That's you, sir.
So Abbreviated Fitness. So it's interesting. I did a lot of research on this. I mean, I went through ACE and Trends and ACSM and Polar and just all over the map. And trying to figure out where 1 hour workouts came from. And I can't find it. It was like some arbitrary standard that we came up with somewhere along the way back in the day. Somebody said, hey, 1 hour classes, 1 hour personal training sessions, 1 hour is a good idea. And it doesn't make a whole lot of physiological sense. 1 minute of higher intensity activity versus 2 minutes of lower moderate intensity, equals about the same. And when you look at the government recommendations on physical activity, activity as small as 10 minutes, to 30 minutes is, has efficacy in disease prevention and physical fitness. And more exercise, more frequency of exercise also gives you a bunch of other additional benefits. So there's research out there that 3 to 7 minute workouts throughout the day can give you benefit. So there's a trend going on right now. If you spend time on social media looking at micro learning, micro workouts, I think this is brilliant for the industry. I think that a sedentary population, a population that is afraid of exerting themselves for an hour, can enter with less intimidation. And so abbreviated fitness, I think, is something to pay attention to, something to embrace, and something to program into your facilities. And I can't find many downside, other than, you got to put a little bit of effort into it, and you've got to have a fair amount of intensity to the exercise to get the medicinal benefits.
But even
the only thing,
Blair, I wasn't done.
Oh.
Okay, Blair, go ahead.
Yeah, even at that, even if 20 minutes isn't intense, we've been talking about populations. We've been talking about fitness is not a lifestyle. We've been talking about the obese population, getting them into clubs. We've been talking about messaging that hasn't worked because everything's too hard. There's a reason that Peloton has biased their platform towards 20-minute, 30-minute, 15-minute exercises. It used to be all 45 and 60. You hardly see them anymore on there. Les Mills did work over 30 weeks to see if they could get people that were completely inactive up to ACSM levels of activity. What did they use? They used group exercise for 15 minutes, for 20 minutes, for bite-sized pieces to get them in. People feel like this is hard. Our messaging has been hard for people. I think this is a huge opportunity to create shorter sessions to get people used to coming to the club, have it not be so hard, and then work on moving it from fitting exercise into our lives, like couldn't agree more with Sara on this, fitting it into our lives to eventually making it a lifestyle. I think this is a key tool in the toolbox for that.
and I think we also,
I'll go first, Sara.
go ahead. Go ahead, Brent.
So several decades ago, when I was working at the Cooper Institute with Dr. Stephen Blair and Dr. Kenneth Cooper, they did research around the efficacy of 10-minute bouts of exercise at moderate intensity multiple times a day, and how that moves the needle on your risk of all-cause mortality. And just doing 10 minutes bouts of exercise multiple times a day at moderate intensity decreased your likelihood by 70 to 80%.
Wow.
That's huge.
And the other thing on that too is efficacy against all-cause mortality, but also think of the efficacy towards creating an exercise habit.
Absolutely.
That's, to me, is the bigger thing.
And then setting the goals. And what statistics have shown is that the only problem I have with the 20-minute workout is, how do we develop our schedule? Do you do a class at 9 a.m., 9:20, 9:40? Making sure that your workout schedule is systematic, so you have something Monday and Wednesday and Friday starting at the same time. If you even alter it by 15 minutes, meaning maybe you start at 9 a.m. on Monday, but because the instructor has to be later, you start at 9:30 on Wednesday and back to 9 a.m. on Friday, you'll lose 20% of your people. So we need to think about the scheduling. The other thing I looked at is, I contacted people at Fitness on Demand, and they say the most popular programming is between 20 and 40 minutes, not going even over 45 minutes. So they're seeing that. And also Anytime Fitness, when they started some on-demand programming in their recorded rooms, they never had people participating over 45 minutes. 30-minute and 45 minutes were the most popular time frames. And I agree with all of you. We've got to make it bite-sized and not scare folks.
Placer AI, in their most recent report on May in the fitness industry, has shown a significant increase. And so they're basically tracking your phones in and out of gyms, of what Placer AI is doing. It's noted a significant increase in exercise times between 15 and 29 minutes. And so people are just freelancing, doing that on their own, regardless even if classes are our intention.
But I would argue you still have that core that will freak out if you get rid of your 50-minute, your hour classes.
But with the way clubs have modified that, because I agree with you, Bill, on that, the way clubs have modified that is they almost make a fitness menu. So you can do your cardio for 15 minutes, then from 9 to 9:15, 9:15 to 9:30, there's a strength class, 9:30 to 9:45. There is a flexibility and fluid motion program. So you can pick, maybe I come at 8:45 to 9:30. So you can piece together your own menu of activity.
And the way Peloton's doing that is they're calling it a stack. You stack multiple things so that you serve both of those clients.
Yeah, right. All right, Sara, zoomed out to sold out. What's going on there?
I love this thing. I love it because at first we named it Zoomed Out and Selling Out. And I think I frightened Blair and he said, Sara, you've got to change the name to Zoomed Out to Sold Out. I'm a Cubs fan. I went to the Cubs game last Friday night. Nobody wore masks. Nobody. Completely sold out. We went out afterwards because my son's girlfriend works at this like barbecue bar. So we went on Clark Street to see if we could at least see Emma. Oh my gosh, it was like we won the pennant. Well, of course we beat the Cardinals, so that was a good thing. But it was packed 2 blocks long to get into any of these bars on Clark Street. I love the PGA stuff. That was for you, Blair. Live Nation and concerts. Yeah, that's for you, Bill. And of course, NFL is for Brent. But Live Nation, the concerts, we went online to buy those Bruce Springsteen tickets that he's doing on Broadway because Broadway opened up. Sold out within 2 hours. We were lucky we got tickets to go in and see it. Our clubs are opening up. We can make them fun places to go. We can do fun classes on Friday night. We can do a Sunday morning outdoor yoga class for the entire family. We've got, people are just, they're zoomed out, totally zoomed out. Does that mean we get rid of our hybrid programs? You know, are we seeing a decline with hybrid participation? You know, this is something, you know, do we want everybody going back to into the office, into the studio, or do we keep some online programs still offering? I teach an online little yoga class twice a week, and the numbers kind of keep climbing and they're stable. So I think we can really engage and capture this sold out feeling of people dying to get outside, but I'm not quite sure how we integrate the technology.
Well, let me jump in here real quick with some ABC club data here. ABC seeing over a 10% increase in new joins from April and a 28% increase from the same period in 2019. 11% increase for the month in participation, with an uptick on females 2.6% higher than males. So a slight uptick on females, primarily under 25 and 46 to 55. So we're seeing participation and joins on an upswing, even beyond pre-pandemic numbers. And so, you know, it's, you know, I'm right there with you, Sara, on the live stuff. And there probably is still a space for hybrid, but I've seen a decline in virtual.
Yeah, a lot of our customers are seeing the same thing, declines in virtual, increase in live. I think Sara, when she was describing it, hit on something that's really important. She was describing fun and entertainment. And I think we have to, you know, figure out how to do more and more of that, kind of, you know, make make our live events a celebration, even if that is just people coming in. Back to the idea of craft work, right? This is craft work that it's going to take, right? That's skilled craftsmanship in how to be with other people and take advantage of that, because there is this deferred spending and this revenge spending, and people want an experience. What this is showing is that people want to be in an immersive experience.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Those of you that know me would be really proud that I've actually gone and done all my calendar online since I started this IHRSA role, which was a new thing for me, but there's other people putting things on my schedule. So I went back for fun and I said, I know I'm zoomed out. Why is that? Over the last 10 months, I've done over 1,300 Zoom meetings. Do the math on that. 1,300 Zoom meetings per my calendar, which shows me right hour by hour my schedule over the last 10 months. So am I ready and craving in-person meetings? No, I'm just craving not talking to anybody anywhere.
You chose to do that, right?
Fair point, Bill. Yes.
So it's interesting to see that people, they need the connections. I love this comment from Cheryl. She said, we need connections. We need the human interaction, and we can leverage that as health clubs. And we can also work outside of the health club arena, meaning maybe somehow we integrate with bars nearby us, doing events in the evening. Maybe somehow we can integrate with dance studios or outside people. I think it's and DJs, live DJs. Frank just, talked about making sure our classes are really fun. Dristy Beats is a wonderful yoga program that Lori and Jeremy Lowell do, and they use live music, and it's just, their programs are just packed.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, our last topic before we have the recap by Bill is basement burnout, is what we're calling this particular subject. And there's some research that's been done by Kelton, which is a marketing analysis firm, and they did a study sponsored and in coordination with Orange Theory, and they looked at 1,000 plus representative Americans over the age of 18. And what they found out were a number of interesting things that hold a lot of promise for us. And it's just what we're talking about, that they're anxious to get back into the gyms. They're anxious to see their friends, work out with their buddies. And the studies found that 41% are suffering from the monotony of at-home fitness. 32% miss the real-life connections their pre-pandemic exercise routines afforded. And 85% are eager and excited to make positive changes to their physical activity. There were some other statistics in the report, but in essence, what the report's findings in summary are, and they match an earlier study that we did as well. IHRSA did a study earlier during the pandemic with Kelton and had similar findings. In fact, one of those was the quote that when they asked people that were members of gym how much they missed their friends and the gym environment, they equated it equally with how much they missed their family and friends. Which is, that's saying a lot when people say, man, I miss going to my gym as much as I miss seeing my family and friends. That really is a bold statement. And then just anecdotally, as we're talking with clubs now that they're open, even by gosh, in California, clubs are open. Congratulations, Bill. The results and the rush back into clubs is really strong. So there's a lot of optimism and a lot of really good reason for optimism around people coming back to their gyms. And as we've said so many times on this and call is, people are just anxious to get back into their routine and see their friends and have some socialization.
It is true that people are dying to get back to the club and they come back in, but if we don't connect with them and set them goals when they come in, I worry they're going to flood in and just kind of go back out. So that's one thing I'm concerned about. And I was looking at that survey, which I really enjoyed, and 43% were planning to set and achieve new fitness goals. So I thought if these people are coming back to the facility, these are respondents to that survey, and it's a great survey company, by the way. I did a little look at them. If 43% are looking to go back and set new goals, this is wonderful. And if we can help them set those goals, we can retain these members. And that's our goal, is not just attract them, but keep them.
Right.
I think as people kind of sat at home and maybe, felt guilty about some of their own behavior and the weight gain, and especially this, this percentage of 60% of people, I wonder if you almost didn't have to say, I mean, just for your own, 30% of people said that they, felt some impact on their own mental wellness, right? I wonder if that isn't just also a mechanism to cope with what's happening at the time. And because setting a goal is an activity. I mean, it's an action, I should say. Setting a goal is an action that can make you feel better. And I think this is what happens a lot of times when we see the big jump, of course, in January, is between Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. A lot of the behaviors during that time, people almost have to set a goal in order to even justify that last party, I think, so to speak. I think we may see a lot of that, and it will manifest as people getting started. We need to back that up with research around the difference between extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation, and your likelihood to stick with exercise if you are intrinsically motivated. And intrinsic motivators are things like, I'm doing it because it's fun. An extrinsic motivator is, I'm going to lose 15 pounds. Intrinsic words that instructors use. Now, Les Mills is doing research on this right now. And if you look at Peloton, they use almost all intrinsic motivation language instead of extrinsic motivation language. Les Mills is doing research on this right now on how to keep people coming back to classes by using intrinsic language, helping people use intrinsic motivation, and that will help people stay longer. So while people have these goals that are set, a lot of those goals might be based on something that's extrinsically motivated. Love this idea of talking to people about goals and trying to get them to have more intrinsic motivation. It has much more longevity in an exercise program.
Blair, there's also, on this intrinsic motivation piece, there's confidence and familiarity. And I'm familiar with the club, and I'm confident about my experience at the club. And it's ours to mess it up in how we welcome people back.
Yeah.
So people are yearning to go to places they're familiar with and comfortable in and confident with. And so couldn't agree more.
Excellent.
Very good. Well, Bill, did you take some notes through our?
I took less notes I took less notes this time because it was such a robust conversation. So this will be a short recap. Craftwork. Make it personal, and it's all about the people. Individualization and built here. Discount, don't do it. It devalues your brand. It's a bad precedent, and most of us aren't paying enough attention to our margin anyway. Staffing, we're going to face some challenges. All these other businesses are paying higher wages, and we've got competition there with people coming back to work. So we've got to pay close attention to how we source and retain our talent. Fitness is a lifestyle or not. How do we get people active? Excellent video and share by Sara. Pill or no pill? I'm not going to say anything else about that. We've covered that with nice, healthy debate. Olympics are a good thing. Abbreviated workouts, a trend, pay attention to it, get involved with it. It's good for the body. It's good for the soul. It's good for your business. Zoomed out, sold out. Make it a celebration. You're having a fitness party every day at your facility. Make it fun. Basement burnout. People are bored, they're lonely, and they have goals to improve their lifestyle. And they miss us as much as they miss family and friends. So don't be boring, be social, support them in their goals, and love them because they're our members.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate you doing that. So hopefully many of you will continue on with this. We're going to have a time of Q&A as usual. Happy to answer some of your questions. As you'd like to put those in the Q&A, we'd be happy to try and answer many of them as we possibly can.
There's some,
here's the first one.
Bill, Brent, there's quite a few in the chat as well right now. Questions?
Yeah, I'm seeing that also. Thanks, Blair. Question, maybe the first one. How do you think frontline positions will evolve over the next few years?
I'll jump on that. I think people are really trying to gut expenses on labor. And I think people are streamlining things like the sales process, digitizing that process, having frontline positions. And then you think about how all these topics blended together today. Hard to get people back, frontline positions, maybe to get more pay for a frontline position, but you may be able to still reduce your labor costs, and those frontline positions become more your craft workers, right? The ones that are out there spending time actually interacting with people, cleaning the facility, being visible, and kind of, sort of the hosts and hostess of the party, so to speak. But I think we're going to see more cross training in those positions. I know several companies already that have kind of gutted all their sales staff, simplified the membership, simplified the sales process, and took out, these are labor reductions in traditional fitness of somewhere around 30% of the labor by creating hybrid positions without damaging the member experience.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think also we have to look at, I think sales positions are the ones that are going to float away quicker than anything, and make sure the front desk staff is trained on taking in a membership. I went to a club the other day and I said, I'd like to buy 15 passes to the gym. And they're like, we can't sell it to you because it was 7 a.m. in the morning. I said, well, why not? Well, you have to go to a salesperson. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Hey, Sarah, everybody's a salesperson.
You'd think.
So
you would think about it, but why can't we?
You're seeing a morphous to MODs, front desk, and sales being combined into a higher position, pretty much across the board throughout the country. I agree.
And we need to see, but I think you guys work at a higher level facility, and when you get down to it in more of our regional and our rural facilities, they're not doing it yet.
Well, I know a great consultant that can help you with your training staff.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that.
Always, buddy.
All right, next question. Are clubs raising prices and or dues to cover wage increases? Is that a good response?
Yeah, a lot of clubs are raising dues, and I don't know if today's the day or if you do it in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, but you need to be looking at increasing your rates. I'm a big believer in Kurt Buseman, Rick Buseman, our good friend's father. Raise them early, raise them often, raise them every year. So I think that yes, you should be looking at rate increases.
I think I do too. I think it's very situational. What's happening in your marketplace. Have you lost competitors? Remember that an overcrowded club is always a bad experience, no matter how nice the club is. A lot of clubs control capacity with price increases. That's.
And you can also look at enhancements to memberships and tiered memberships to where you can increase some population, but keep your entry level the same. There's lots of options on price variability.
And as you open your doors, raising the price because the need is up, it's fine, because you can always lower it a little bit later.
Yeah.
But now is the time. If you're ever going to raise it, now's the time to do it. Needs there.
And if I could get a shameless plug in for IHRSA, just because all of you I know are such big IHRSA fans. IHRSA's got the tiered membership going on now too. So there's 3 different options, levels for you all to join IHRSA that give you a little variability, and make sure you can find something that matches exactly where your interests are.
And by the way,
I love it that IHRSA's got that fitness professional membership now that we're trying to support you guys in, because we need the experience and the education IHRSA has to offer. Sorry, Blair.
No, I was going to say, and if you're doing a tiered membership, it should raise the average dues per member, not reduce the average dues per member.
Good point, Blair. Yes, sir. Okay, let's go on to the next question, because we're getting a bunch of them in. Do you have any recommendations to combat the short-timer attitude that was referenced? I'll start because that was my topic, and then y'all can throw it in. The short-timer attitude, meaning 1/4 of employees are maybe thinking about leaving. And in our industry, I think it's really important to make sure the employee understands the why of their job and how their job is meaningful. And I think we're blessed to be in this health and fitness industry where our jobs really are meaningful. We really are making a difference in people's lives by supporting them and encouraging them and helping them living happier, healthier lifestyles. So almost compared to any other role you could have working in our industry, that's a big leg up that we have. We need to play to that for sure. What do you guys think? And girls?
So I'll jump in there. You know, we have I mean, my club's a 2-club operation, and we don't have many careers in our small company there. We don't have many careers, but we do want to enhance everybody's career that works for us. And that means putting purpose and the customer at the center of what you do. I would put our longevity of employee up against almost anybody's longevity of employee. That doesn't mean they're going to have a career with you, but if the average is 1 year and you keep them for 2 or 3 or 4 years, you're way ahead of the competitors. And by the way, your costs are much lower. So it's not always about pay. And I just couldn't agree more that people, if you want to get people to be the craftsmen that are going to have the right interaction with your, members, then you got to put purpose at the center and make them feel like they're contributing to that purpose.
And I think that's really important that we review our frontline workers, our personal trainers and our Group X instructors. They may be part-time. They may work 20 hours a week, or maybe they just work 2 hours a week for you. Mm-hmm. They view this part-time work as a career. This is their passion. This is their career. And I think they have greater longevity as a result, but we've got to make them comfortable and feel like they belong.
All right. Bill, this might be a good one for you. I think you answered this already, but the question is there nonetheless. Has there been a decline in virtual fitness programming and viewage in facilities that are now open and have been open?
I don't have hard numbers on it, but empirically talking to everybody and what I'm experiencing in my company, yes, declining.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep.
All right. How important is providing a digitally connected or activity tracking alternative?
I think activity tracking. I think it's super important. I'm a fan of MyZone. We have a lot. I think we have about 30% of our members, using it, and we integrate it. We use it kind of strategically. I think it's been a huge help at keeping attrition down and keeping people engaged. So I think it's really important.
I think it is important too. In MyZone, yeah, they're a great supporter of Worx and IHRSA as well. They've got a great product. Apple Fitness Connected is another one. We had a webinar with Apple just a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, well, there's a certain segment that really likes the tracking and monitoring, and that helps motivate them to an extent. Bill?
Well, Trainerize is doing some great stuff too, with regard to their offering, and there's a lot of good product out there, and I think it's important. You want a surround sound experience.
And if you can do something like Trainerize, somebody commented earlier, I got to find it right here. I watch 40-something-year-olds doing HIIT workouts off an app with no instruction on form. Now, that's happening a lot, and I can't imagine the number of injuries that are going to come from that. And I think controlling, if you have something like Trainerize, you're not going to avoid this. There's, 500,000 fitness apps out there, and people are using them, and there's still going to be a huge number of people just coming into your club to do their own individual workout, and they're going to be looking at this and taking some instruction on this. And I think the concern for me on that is exactly what Deborah Barrera says here. To me, the scary one there is the older part of our population that's doing that, not the 18 to 29-year-old.
Now, Blair, you and I have been on the road together a lot, and almost every time we're on the road together, we see each other in the gym working out in the morning before we go to the meetings. And you're always carrying around your phone, letting it tell you what to do and still teaching you how to do the exercises, it appears.
No, I have my MyZone app open. I'm just watching my heart rate. And then I'm just seeing if the horse I bet on is, no.
Okay. I knew that was part of it. And then you were asking me how to do the exercises correctly, and I was helping you out when I could.
Playing online poker.
Well, to get back on subject, I think
Oh,
that
here we
people
go.
are using tracking actually in the programs that they're doing. So if they're working with the trainer, they're watching their heart rate, okay? And they're tracking their steps. And the same thing happens in Group X. So I think it's still very relevant, and it's crossing, all across the board.
Okay, next question. Do you think the positive impact of the pandemic related to inclusivity will last beyond 2021?
Yeah, I think we're going to see a wave. I think we have the opportunity to ride a wave, and it's not just because people are aware. It's about economic impact, and people are figuring out the economic impact. And to hear Tim Cook, not just a few months ago he said this, but now just as recently as 2 days ago, promising that Apple's biggest impact is going to be on health. And they're working hard to figure it out, whether they, by the way, they have their own clinics in that. They're experimenting with that. It hasn't completely worked. But when you start to see the biggest, most profitable companies in the world talking about needing to impact health, they know that this has to be about wellness, about exercise, about eating better. I think we are I think we are going to see the absolute golden age of our industry, and we have to be positioned well for it.
I
And
think so
I
too,
think
Blair.
we
Just
can't-
this, go ahead, Sarah.
I think we can't just look at reopening. I worry that sometimes
Right.
we're so frantic about this pivot.
Right.
I'm just going to go back and do what we did. I'm just going to go back. And I think it's reopen, but I think we have to reevaluate everything as we open and hopefully maintain these positive changes that we've made societally, looking at people's psychological health. Mental health is so important, and looking at inclusivity and diversity and ecology.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with both of you. I think there's a heightened awareness around it coming out of the pandemic. Just this week, IHRSA is signing a memorandum of understanding, a longer-term partnership with Special Olympics around this very topic. So, organizations that are more at the public health level are really seizing this opportunity to make a difference. And if we want to grow into that 78% of the population that don't belong to gyms, being more inclusive, to make Bill's point, it's good business.
Yep.
And it's good
Well,
for
I mean,
people.
depending on the stats you look at, anywhere from 19 to 26% of the United States population has some form of disability. It
Right.
could be an invisible disability, or a physical disability, or an obvious disability, but that's a huge number of people.
Right. Good comment, Bill. Okay, next, when do shorter sessions make the most sense?
I think especially with people that are beginners. By the way, Matt Wright had such a great comment. Is anyone else thinking about the scene in There's Something About Mary about 7-minute abs? Anybody remember that scene, right? Heaven, it's 6-minute abs. Who ever heard of 6-minute abs? I think it makes sense as people are coming back into the club trying to get restarted. I think people that do not have an exercise habit are better off with frequency of days coming in than they are with duration of exercise, because I think that helps them build an exercise habit. There is a lot of research that the more unpleasant something is to somebody, the more you have to finish it with something pleasant. Okay, I got to bring up this research because it'll make you laugh, but I just loved it. And Bryce Hastings is the one that Bryce has been a great researcher. Bryce Hastings is the one that brought this up to me, and it is research on colonoscopies and getting people to come back for their next colonoscopy. Turns out it's really a bad experience, right? So what they did is they take this sort of height of the bad experience, then they took control group, normal appointment, and then they took other group and they tried to finish. Now, it's hard to say this without laughing, but they tried to finish that appointment with some kind of pleasant experience. And what they found was that if you finish something intense, so think about somebody coming in, doesn't like exercise, but maybe you finish it with a Theragun session at the end, a pleasant experience, that it greatly downregulated their thinking about the unpleasant part of it. So they thought, and the return rate a year, 2 years later to the next appointment was much higher on the group that at least left with something positive. And I think there's something there. Shorter session for people, ending with something really positive, which might be a stretch. It might be Theragun. It might be something like that. Much more likely to get them to come back.
So I'll
They've
end
also
on
done
this.
it.
I'll end on this because we're out of time. And that is, when I worked with Dr. Cooper back in the day, and people would complain about colonoscopies and how unpleasant it was, he would just say, hey, it's not that great on my end either. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks for my colleagues and friends again for doing such a great job. We'll be back again next month. We look forward to seeing you then.
Thanks,
Take
everybody.
care, everyone. Have a great June.